All right, on the bench today out of a 2009 BMW X5 with a 3.0, we have the ZF6HP21X. This is, of course, an X-Drive. What's going on with this? Complaint was the transmission was slipping. I know on the 3/4 shift it had like a clutch squawk on the shift. It was also slipping in the higher gears. And when I looked at the clutch fill times, I believe I remember the B clutch was pretty high. So we'll see how the B clutch looks. We'll see how the E clutch looks when we take this thing apart. But transmission was definitely slipping, 157,000 miles on it. So we're gonna take it apart and see what we find. So let me get a little closer and we will start tearing this down. All right, so just by looking at this transmission, I can tell you this is going to have an E-shift valve body. Here is the J bracket, as I call it, for the park release, and the cable comes through here and attaches on. And you got to make sure this attaches onto the J bracket. You got to make sure this is adjusted correctly. You know, you adjust it through here, through the slide. I'm going to kind of clean all this rust out of here. But you have to make sure this is adjusted correctly because it can produce codes, and it also can produce a problem when you put it in drive or reverse. It'll jump back into park. So you got to have so much space in between the end of the cable and this J bracket for it to be adjusted correctly. All right, so I just wanted to cover that. All right, here is your fill and check. I believe this unit was drained, so we'll just take that out. All right, so now we're going to, what I'm going to do is just take the pump bolts out. That is a torque 27. I kind of cracked them loose already. So let's just get these out. I'm still waiting for parts. The only thing I have right now is my ZF overhaul kit. I have a friction module coming. Actually, the bushing kit I have. And the converter I actually just received from Ericsson's. I got one more. Okay. And also we got the O-ring for the lock-up torque converter here. All right, here is the O-ring. That should come new in the kit. Okay, flip this up. I'm hoping this thing was drained. You know what? Let me just do this first, just in case it... So we got a little bit coming out. Yeah, it's pretty much drained. It was pretty bad. Wow, very dark. Okay. All right, so the torque 40. Get us the pump bolts out. So again, this is a Gen 2 6HP21. So we'll have those. I usually identify by the two orange solenoids that are in this. And we'll see when we get the pan. We just come over here. A little busy here just trying to keep up with the work. Maybe I'll bring this down a little bit. Okay. There's the pan filter. That's going to be replaced. Doesn't really smell burnt, but the oil is pretty disgusting. Here is your pan filter here. Let me just get rid of some of this oil. Now here are those two orange solenoids that I was talking about. So this is definitely a Gen 2 unit. Okay. All right, so now we're gonna pick up the tab. And we'll connect her out. And then again, for 40s, we'll remove the valve body bolts. Okay. All right. This out of the way. Okay. Let's go bridge seal. Everything's pretty stuck together here. Okay. Bridge seal is okay. It's not cracked or anything. The seal, of course, is shot. All right. Now let's see if we can get these 4 sealing sleeves out. And then we can just take the internals out. Let me get, so I've got a snap ring plies I use with a hook on it. See how easy these are going to come out. Okay. Come on. Another one. Okay, and then let's try to get this one again. So this stuff is so brittle, it just breaks up. Okay. All right, so those are out, so that is good. Okay, now we're going to get a couple of screwdrivers, pry here, very gently, and we'll take the front section out. All right, let me just get this here. All right, so we'll go here, give a little push. Okay. So this moved a little too far, so this came out, no big deal, we'll just put it back in. At least it's not in park anymore anyway. All right, so the pump. Of course, we're going to change that bushing. You have your shim here. The front section. Bearing. Give me 1 second. All right. Back with you. Ready. So here's the B clutch. And I remember I had a high reading on the B clutch, like the B clutch was no good, but it doesn't really seem to be that bad. Okay, now we gotta see if we can get the snap ring out. All right, looks like I'll be able to get behind it. Let's see how easy. So there's a couple of cutouts where I can get a screwdriver behind. And then we gotta see if we can just move that snap ring out of the groove. Okay. Let's see. All right, so what I gotta do is let me get another little pry bar here. That one's a little too thick. Okay. Oh, God. Expect that to happen. All right, well, it's out. Okay. The snapper actually is the same on both sides. They kind of popped out on me. 1, 2, 3. All right, so let's see if we can get this center support out. Actually isn't even moving yet. See if we can get this in. Now we'll have to see if we can get it open from the back. That thing's not even moving. All right, so I'm gonna try to hit the output shaft to get that center support to move. All right, seemed like it worked. Probably just a little lip in there or something. All right, this thing out. If it's not perfectly straight, it's not going to come out. Okay, and you have your little blocks here to keep this thing from turning. One of them is here. Okay, there's 2 of them. Right here they are. They go onto the center support again to keep it from turning. Okay. Let's get the planet. And we'll get the ring here, and we'll get the output shaft. Okay, let's see if there's any kind of shim that we have to get. No, I don't see one. Okay, so there is no shim on this one. Maybe there is. 1 second. It looks like it's a bearing, but it's not coming out because it's held in there. Okay, I got it. There is a shim. Here it is, and this goes. And always look for that, right there. Okay. All right. Now, and that rides against a bearing which is kind of, kept in there. Okay. So now what I want to do, let me just. Case is stripped. Let me get rid of the case. I'll put it on the next bench, get rid of the oil, and we'll take a look at the drums and open up the pump. Be a quick tear down. And we'll be right back. All right, let's take a look. And look at the E and the A clutch right now. Go. Okay. Take the top off. Up for the A clutch. Up for the E clutch. Looks like there might be something going on with this E clutch. Let's take a look at that first. said it did have a squawk on the shift. Yeah, look at that. Nothing left on that disc. So these are gonna need clutches and steels. There's nothing left on this one at all. Yeah, totally gone. Absolutely nothing left. And you know, that one wasn't so bad when I looked at the clutch fill times. I remember the B clutch was bad, and which I usually never see. You know, the E clutch is the common clutch, of course, it's bad. You know, these clutches, they just tend to flake off, and then they just go bad, and the clutch fill time goes way up to, like 700. There's a bearing here. Take that off. Okay. And you have your 3 sealing rings here. You have another bearing here. It's pretty much going to stay in here, this bearing. Okay, so that's the E, which is shot. And let's take a look at the A. Okay, it doesn't look too bad. But, I do have a friction module coming. I have my kit here. But I have to also get the friction module, which is coming from out of state, so. Okay, the B clutch, bearing here. Let's take a look at the B. Okay, well, it's not bad. Center support, the C clutch. Okay. And doesn't look too bad. Sometimes I find this clutch flakes as well, the D clutch. And as you can see, that's not too bad. I thought I just saw an area where, clutch is starting to come apart up here. But these flake not as bad as the E clutches do, but they do, because I've seen it before. Okay. Alright, so here is the valve body. There are your Gen 2 solenoids, the park release, park lock solenoid, speed sensors, and you can tell it's a Gen 2 just by looking at this section of the valve body here. Gen 1 has a section here and a section here. This is all kind of one, so that's another giveaway for Gen 2. Okay. Let's take a look at the pump. Let's take this shim out. Just give me 1 second. Somebody just pulled up. Okay. Let's take a look at pump here. Of course, after the overhaul is done, batter kit, steels where I need them. Gonna do a plate. It's a VO65 plate, solenoids, converter. After it's done, you gotta reset the shifter depths and clear those numbers out. So put this up here. go. Okay, so this looks good. Very nice. There also was a bushing here. Some of the 19s have them, some don't. There's a bushing here, so I'm going to make sure that bushing gets changed as well. Okay. So we got the gears and the body. Dots are facing me. Okay. Gears look good. Pocket looks good. We got a bearing here. O-ring and front seal will be changed. So your typical, you know, what I see with these 6HP19s. So just a typical overhaul with clutches and some steels, like I said. Okay, as far as the valve body goes, once again, you got the number located right in here. This says B065, so I get the plate for that. And let me just run and get my kit that I have. I have that, and I have my bushing kit so far. That's it. The rest of the parts I'm still waiting for. Let me get that and show you. We can finish it up. I'll be right back. All right, so here is my door bond bushing kit from TranStar. And here is my ZF overhaul kit for this 2009 X5. Alright, so they pretty thorough, you know, they used to, or they do. Okay, so I even got, they give me new pump bolts, you know, on the outside. Get new bridge seal, new Megatronic sleeve. You know, it's pretty much a complete kit here. I like the ZF stuff. I like using the ZF stuff. That's really my choice of kits when I do these. I don't really like to deviate from that. And the friction module is also ZF. Pan will be ZF, and the Lifeguard 6 oil is what I will be using. All right, so I think that is about it. Once again, 05 BMW X5 3.0. The main problem was there was a flare on the 3/4 shift, and it even squawked on the 3/4 shift, which is when the E-clutch, which is the clutch that's wiped out, comes in. E-clutch is on in 4th, 5th, and 6th. So that's the main reason why it's here. He said he was having problems in the higher gears because the E-clutch is the driving clutch. So it's on in 4th, 5th, and 6th. Well, in 5th, you know, maybe the B clutch is on, and in 6th, maybe the C clutch is on, you know, whatever the case may be. But the E-clutch is always on, and if there's a problem with that, you'll have a problem in the higher gears. And that's what he was having, and for some reason, I don't know why, the B clutch, which really doesn't look too bad, was clutch fill time was very high. I really thought I was going to find that no good, but I didn't. And again, one of the main reasons, one of the things that I definitely have to do when this is done is reset those adapts. And that's pretty much telling the transmission that, telling the car that there's another transmission in the car or it's been rebuilt. And then you road test it and it'll adapt from there. All right, so that is about it for this typical overhaul. I thank you guys for watching. Have a great day, and we'll see you next one.